Hey guys, today I have the pleasure of speaking with Ruark, the folk rock trio coming from South Arkansas, and they have some really cool, jangly, bluesy rock. Excited to get into that. It's perfect for the summers that we have in southern states, and we're going to be talking to them about their music, and they're going to be coming down here over the summer as well. So thanks so much for being here, guys.
Thank you.
Glad to be here.
So, if you could introduce us to just you guys as a band, and also if you could individually give your names as well, that would be perfect.
All right, I'm Ruark, and
I'm Alexa.
I'm Jeff.
I play guitar and sing
I play bass
and sing.
and sing. Yeah,
Mhm.
background.
Play the drums.
Very cool. So, how would you guys I kind of gave a little intro, but how would you guys personally describe your sound and what you really encompass as a band?
Well, we didn't really know what to call it at first. I kind of thought maybe Americana, red dirt music, and Jeff came up with the folk rock sound. You mentioned jangly, so there might be some birds in there. I don't know. What do you think, Jeff?
I'd say so, yeah.
Okay.
Very cool. Well, yeah, I was seeing on you guys' website, I saw some reviews that you had, and one of them mentioned that 70s sort of jangle, and I was like, oh, I love that description, because for me that's one of my favorite things in the more folky sound. It's just that spirit, and so thought that was a really cool description. But so you guys come from a lot of different backgrounds. It looked like you come from more of the punk scene, whereas Jeff comes from more of the psych rock. Can you guys talk about how you came together and how you sort of fused the musical styles, like you were just kind of referencing to that complicated process?
Well, we originally I'd played solo acoustic, just singer-songwriter things. And a couple years after I graduated college, I had the opportunity to put a band together. And how that happened was I was recording the album, and I had programmed drums for it. Before, it was just always acoustic guitar and vocals only. And I thought, okay, I'm going to put out an album and put as much at it as I can. And then Jeff heard it and offered to replace the sequence drums with live drums. And during that process, we enjoyed it so much that we decided to start a band. And Alexa, she had played ukulele and bass on and off for a few years, and said she would be willing to give being in a band for the first time a chance.
Very cool.
I learned a few of the bass lines and just went from there, and then ended up learning the rest of the songs.
So you guys first met in recording, and then you ended up doing performance after that together?
Well, no, we'd known each other on and off for many, many years. Yeah. But I was away at college, and I went to college in Texas, and I would always come back and forth and things like that.
Okay. What school in Texas were you at?
UT Tyler.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I have some friends over at UT Tyler. Love that. So are you originally from Texas?
Well, I spent kind of a lot of time in Texas and a lot of time in Arkansas growing up. So it's kind of, split.
Very cool. So what would you guys consider your musical inspirations, and what kind of was, any sort of inspiration behind writing for you and for performing and being together as a band?
For me, like you mentioned, I came from the punk scene in Texas. I was in a punk band for a few years before college, and I skateboarded growing up, so that was hugely influential. I remember whenever I was a little kid getting a CCS catalog and buying some CDs out of it, and there was a band called Firehose and another band, The Descendants, and their kind of brother band, All. And so at a very young age, and I don't even know if I knew what punk rock was whenever I was that young. I just knew I liked the music, and it went well with skateboarding. And later on, I got into bands like NoFX, and that was kind of NoFX, and the more poppy stuff is kind of like what the punk bands I was in. kind of catered to. But we were also part of like a scene that had like straight edge hardcore sounds and that more harder edge thing going on, and even emo, the birth of emo back in Texas, like with Mineral and bands like that. Then later on, well, I'd always been into oldies, and Jeff, you know, he and I, we kind of tie in with that, with like the oldies things with
I think rockabilly too, and spaghetti western influences
like
the band as well.
Ennio Morricone, and
Yeah.
and what's some bands that you can think of?
I like Peter Green's Fleetwood Mac,
Mm-hmm.
Soft Machine.
Lots of influences.
Yeah.
A lot of influences, yeah.
Yep.
Very cool. Definitely gonna have a whole list of listeners can go chart the roots, chart the influences. Love having just like band names like that. Super cool.
Right, and like on the Sunshine Pop side of things, we a band like Bread. My dad, growing up, he was into Bread, and my mom was kind of into Stevie Nicks' Fleetwood Mac, and so I grew up on those sounds.
Very cool.
He introduced me to a lot of those bands and those sounds. I grew up, my grandparents were musicians, so I grew up listening to a lot of hymns and piano. My grandmother was a pianist. So I wasn't introduced to a lot of those bands and some of those sounds until I met Ruark.
Very cool.
Yeah, and the harmonies from like the album, you know, we were, I mean, nowhere near this, but bands like the Free Design, you know, where they had a lot of counterpoint harmonies. And after hearing that, it was like something that I really wanted in the sound.
Love hearing that. So, how do you guys go about writing as a group? I know you mentioned that you were doing some singer-songwriter stuff, Ruark, solo. So do you typically have sipping from that, or do you do more collaboration now?
Well, right. Originally on the first album, I would say about 75% of the songs had already been written, and they were just guitar and vocals. And now we're writing this follow-up album. I don't demo it out nearly as much as I did before. I'll write a verse and a chorus, might not even have a bridge yet. And I'll bring in Jeff, and he and I'll work together hashing out a groove for it and just kind of testing it out to see if it'll work. Most of the time it does, but like the very last song that I'd written, it was just kind of off the cuff, and I don't know if we'll keep that one, and it was helping to, you know, Jeff and I, it's always like whenever I'll come up with something before he's even behind the drums, I get inspired just by him listening to it. I might, you know, we'll be talking about something and I'll say something like this, and something will come out that I would have never written if I was just in a room by myself. But and then after that, I'll normally write the bass line. She's starting to like, lately, I'll just kind of give her some notes and she'll come up with something, you know, groove wise. But on the first album, I notated out all the bass lines with number notation, and we can all read music in tablature and things, but I'll notate it in tablature completely with articulations and everything. And somehow she takes it and learns it exactly, and couldn't be happier with that. And so that's pretty much how we do it, right?
And then when the guitar and the vocals are
The lead
written,
vocals.
then he and I will work on background vocals.
Right, and I kind of bounce background vocal ideas off of her the way that I bounce, you know, guitar ideas and drums and grooves and things like that off of Jeff. And that's pretty much how it comes together.
Nice. I bet it's so amazing when you guys all three finally have it all from your different conversations and then get to play it together.
Yes, it feels really great.
So you guys mentioned that you have a new album coming out. So When You Coming Home, which was the 2019 release you guys have out on Spotify and on your website and stuff, is that going to be something you're playing with on this upcoming tour, or is it more of a new music situation?
We'll mainly be playing the songs off When You Coming Home and sliding in new songs. we've already been playing at least like one song off of the new album called Brave Eyes, and then the 2 tracks that you'd heard, those will be played live. And then we have a few more. There's a more complex song we're still working out, and we're still writing a lot. Jeff and I, we're about 75% of the way with the new album, so that's kind of how we're at with it. And she's probably got 3 or 4 songs.
Okay. So walk us through when you coming home. Like, could you tell us a little bit about the making of that album in particular? If there's any standout songs or maybe standout moments in production or different things of that manner.
Well, the main thing was like figuring out how to have 1 track of guitar, live drums, 1 track of bass, sound full and complete, and there's no overdubs of guitar. There's overdubs of background vocals and things, but figuring out how to make that sound full and complete, and also just learning how to properly mix an album. I produced and mixed most of it myself, and I'd done demos and things in the past, but I didn't really know how to use a compressor right, and I didn't even know how to, I mean, there were reverb things and procedures that I didn't fully grasp before, because I didn't really need to know. You just, before I would just slap a little reverb on things, but there's things like pre-delay and all these technical aspects of recording and figuring that out. And one of the things I did on the last album that I might not do in the future is I did a lot of side chain gates where, like, say if there was a snare hit, the music would cut through. It would maybe turn down the bass and the guitar for a split second to let the snare cut through. So it was just kind of getting that really professional mix. That was kind of a lot of hurdles and and being able to do it, it was kind of innovative for me and for us, I suppose.
Okay. Yeah. I think that really comes through in y'all's music too, because I was really impressed when I heard of just that sound of it. Does sound really full, and you can tell there was a lot of effort put into the production of that. So I really like hearing that was something really intentional for you guys. And also hopefully when we don't have the exact date, hopefully whenever we open up our studio in the station, hopefully we can have you guys come in and do like a stripped down, session too. That will be very cool. But we are going to be putting in some tracks for this interview, and then hopefully have some more in the future. But would you guys walk us through, the first song you sent was Into the Sun? Would you guys kind of walk us through and introduce that? We're going to put it in here for people to take a listen to you guys' music we've been talking about.
Well, of course, everything that's been written lately is influenced by the pandemic. And it was, when we were on lockdown at first, we just kind of thought about, wanting to run away from it all. And I mean, we are in South Arkansas, and we're not a heavily populated area around here. So we kind of already are away from a lot of things, but we still thought, just whimsically, thought we could run away to the ocean or run away to the mountains and things like that. And also, just like Into the Sun. Also, it's kind of a breakup song as well. You got to have an element of love in there. For
sure. Love and escapism. You truly can't go wrong in our modern society with those two topics. So gonna put that in here. yeah, I was really interested when I heard from you guys, just being from Arkansas, and wondering how you guys heard about Radio UTD. You were a UT alum.
Mhm.
Have you spent much time in the Dallas area or seen any of our other sessions or broadcasts or anything like that?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, YouTube, there's different radio stations that have, some of the bands we love, the newer bands that we love,
Mhm.
come through and play, and just running across those and run across, UT Dallas radio and that way.
Very cool.
And
Yeah.
her sister lives in Dallas
Yeah.
as well.
Well, in the area.
Mhm.
Yeah, in Dallas area. So
Nice.
we're there. I'm there quite a bit.
Very cool. I know we're looking for some new like folk rock DJs, because we have Gio, who does GeoTunes, does a lot of folk rock, and then we have who's an alum now, but we had a DJ who Molly, who had, I think it was someone from Avid Bros, and like she had some really cool like folk interests and interviews on her show. So I know there's a big space for that around here. And you guys are going to be coming through in June, you said, the 28th.
In June, but some other shows are already coming in. So we'll let you know if we have a date before then.
Okay, cool. And then can you guys talk about the next song that you sent in that we're going to play as well?
With Over Me, that was inspired by a buddy of mine that I go fishing with, and he's a musician as well.
Mhm.
And just kind of thinking about hard times again and the troubles. And so it was kind of a culmination of that. And it was kind of tongue in cheek too. And we had that a lot in our music. What did you call it earlier? We were talking.
Playfully eclectic.
Yeah, it's kind of, there's always like
lots of whimsy for sure, whimsical for sure.
Yeah, there's a playfulness to it, and it's just telling a story of he and I going fishing and seeing one of our buddies or somebody, acting a fool, and
Mhm.
they're coming undone. It's pretty much what it says it is.
Aw.
And I tried to throw in, a little bit of kind of the chordal harmony of something from the first album, kind of having that same vibe harmony wise, and maybe a little bit we're trying to do a little bit of more rock, wouldn't you say, Jeff? On this next, we had a lot of riffs on the guitar on the first album, but maybe putting in more of like what would feel like a rock and roll or a rock solo, not rock and roll, but
Mhm.
a harder edge solo musically. But that's pretty much where Over Me came from.
Left the house before the sun came up. Headed to the lake with my old friend Bob. Fish weren't biting on that bluebird day. start crying over me. Don't start crying over me.
Well, what would be sort of the best way for listeners to stay in touch with you guys as they are seeking out more of your music and maybe looking to see you guys in person in the future?
Definitely our website, ruarkmusic.com, and our YouTube page. Kind of have an aversion to social media, but Jeff's trying to convince me to get an Instagram, so that'll eventually be
In the
coming.
future, maybe.
Yeah. And I mean, you're on Facebook, right?
Oh, yeah.
What is your Facebook?
It's just Jeffrey Scott Greer.
Yeah, Jeffrey Scott Greer at Facebook.
Mhm.
And there might be some things on there too. And his music, he does solo music, and it's available on through there. And there's a link on the ruarkmusic.com website as well.
Perfect. Well, I'll put that in, and then yeah, you'll have that great website too, so I'll link that below. Thank you guys so much for doing this little interview. Was there anything
you
else
for
that you
having
guys wanted to add or just mention before you guys before we close it up?
We just hope to keep making music that people enjoy, play bigger stages, and have fun collaborations.
Very rad. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us, and gonna put in you guys' music here, and very happy to have y'all.
Thank you
Thank
so much.
you.